see the end game. Seeing is believing, everything and everything in between. Nothing is something, never was yesterday. Thought space capacity.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to have you here on a Tuesday night. Feels like Wednesday, feels like Thursday. Everything feels late. Then again, we're losing daylight fast. We haven't even fallen back yet. And look outside my window. It is 7 o'clock, and it might as well be 9 o'clock. We are in the sweet zone. We're in the sweet zone in a crazy year. I'm happy to have you along for the ride tonight. It's going to be a great one because we got our friend Grace coming back. Really graceful, and I have a lot of great things to talk about with her, and I can't wait to. I had a few things I just got to inject into the mix here that is going to be pretty interesting. You know, some contributions from the audience, some old friends, people who do interesting things for a living. And we're going to get to that in a little bit. She's going to come on around 7:15, and we're going to ride it out for the first hour and see what's left to be said. And from there, who knows? The Yankees are still in the World Series, maybe for a couple more hours. They're down 3-0. They look like they've been dead in the water. Like the soul's been ripped out of them since game one. Just no soul. Just dead, lifeless. You know, it's crazy because I'm in such a conflicted position right now because I'm fed up and I want them to get like put out of their misery. You know the Space Marine in Aliens? Aliens, the 1986 movie Aliens, where they're going through the inside of the ship and they're looking for any kind of survivors or whatever, and they find that one woman that is like plastered to the wall. Obviously, she had become an incubator for one of those aliens, and they think she's dead, and then all of a sudden she gasps to life. And what's I always had to have that in here. What's the first thing she asks? It's for somebody to kill her.
Please, kill me.
That's what I feel like the Yankees are right now, in many respects. That actually just might be me as a fan. Oh, just take us by the neck and just give us some sweet release. But then I'm just like, well, you know, if they win tonight against this bullpen game, then we go out there tomorrow, me and my mother. Do we see another? Can they win 2 in a row? Absolutely they can. It's only 2 games. And then what do? You get a day off, you go to L.A., and then all you have to do is win one more game. You know why? Because if you win that one game, then the series is tied, and Game 7 of any series, of any sport, of anything. If you ever played rocks, paper, scissors, best of 7, and it's 3-3, that last game is its own series unto itself. You have to think, you have to break down the thinking, because that is going to take us right to the election. And God, you know what? Whatever. Doesn't even matter. Doesn't matter. They get swept tonight. I get my money back, and I get to bring my mother to a nice steak dinner. Maybe I'll take her to opening day next year, if there's a country left. If there's a country left, maybe we'll go to opening day next year in April. So, welcome to the show. I have plenty to talk about in the second half. I've got this Jeff Bezos open letter, the editorial that he wrote in the Washington Post that a lot of people are upset about, which I think is funny for a number of reasons, and we'll talk about that when we get that there. Actually, Grace might be able to comment on a little bit of that. There's so much good stuff that's going to be jam-packed into this. And remember, Thursday night, for those of you out there who are consummate book club members, you should be, especially if you are a monthly sponsor, you should be just doing book club. Something new with your life. Something new. It's so fun. And it doesn't take that much. We've got our last short story, The Monkey's Paw by W.W. Jacobs. That's going to be on Halloween night after, quite frankly, concludes. And remember, Halloween night, we start our show at 8 o'clock, not 7 o'clock. 8 o'clock, not 7. Got to bring Aurora trick-or-treating. And I will be doing that from Studio B. So that'll be even easier for me, too. All right. With that being said, let's just start this one off. I want to just throw a few things out there for when for when Grace comes on, and we'll do that on the other side of the intro. So don't go anywhere, my friends. We'll be back in a flash.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's
Yes. Oh, Aurora's song. That's right. Speaking of Aurora, yeah, now to play Red Right Hand. So excuse me. Today we were out there, outside. We were outside for like about 2 hours. Been really putting her on her tricycle and saying, use those legs. Let's go. We're going up the hill on a tricycle. But what I do is I took her jump rope and I hooked it to the front of the bicycle so I can give it her, and I can just drag her behind me and assist. So she's going up the hill, but obviously whatever. Anywho, she loved that. Went all over the place. And then when we came home, she wanted to play Frisbee. I said, sure. She's getting really good at Frisbee. She caught quite a few today. And she threw a few to me nice and easy too. And she came up to me. She said, I won one and you won. I hope that we could both win trophies. I said, well, there can only be one winner, Aurora. She goes, then I'm going to win. I said, no, I'm going to win. And then she cut me off. She said, how about we both stop talking and just concentrate on what we're doing? I said, yeah, how dare you? Get your hands off me. So there was that. How about we just both stop talking and just concentrate on what we're doing? Oh, boy. Anyway, where are we tonight? Oh, well, hey, listen, everybody's preparing for the election in one way or another. The media is looking for ways to purge the internet of dissenters. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. The New York Times is launching a hit piece apparently against about, a couple of dozen right-leaning, conservative, just disobedient people. Because it's, not everybody's conservative who progressives don't like. Progressives don't like anybody who's not obedient. But anyway, the New York Times must be cooking something up because they're like going after Tucker Carlson and Tim Pool and everybody, and they're trying to get them all taken off of YouTube and stuff, like asking about their monetization status and stuff. So that's what the media is doing. They're and I don't think that's like a New York Times I would say a plan that's been concocted, a story that's being concocted by the New York Times. I think that they are just playing out a role that's been given to them again. So it looks like a new purge is coming. At least that's what they may be trying. We'll do that in the second half with a few other things. So that's how they're preparing for the election and the world afterwards, no matter who's in charge. And then we have this. This is from MSNBC. I hope you take a listen and enjoy.
Intelligence agencies are warning of threats of violence in the upcoming election. In a joint intelligence bulletin, agents from the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security are warning law enforcement agencies that domestic violent extremists are seeking to terrorize and disrupt the vote. Let's get more now from NBC's Ken Delaney. And what more can you tell us about this warning, Ken?
I'm a turtle.
Good morning, Anna. The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security are warning in this new intelligence bulletin of the heightened risk of lone wolf attacks by domestic extremists motivated by election-related conspiracy theories.
Ah, okay. So us. Heightened attacks from us. That's what. Yeah, the people don't do anything. Can't motivate us to do anything. Jeez.
Including beliefs in widespread voter fraud and their hatred of their political opponents. This will surprise no one who's been paying attention, but it's significant that these agencies are putting this out to local law enforcement a week before the election. The new unclassified bulletin says the goal of these attacks would be to terrorize and disrupt the vote. And to be clear, this document does not describe intelligence about any specific threat. It talks about a general atmosphere of anger and misinformation that could prompt unstable people to engage in threats or violence. And of course, we've already seen that.
It's not even anything in particular. It's just a general atmosphere, a general fascistic atmosphere that we all have to just keep your head on a swivel. Of course, nothing to be worried about from those very, very peaceful, joyful leftists out there. Nothing at all. People who go out of their way to target Supreme Court justices, and they'll do anything possible. They'll scream in the face of children. They'll do it. They'll cut off their own children's genitals. They'll anything. Don't worry about them ever. It's us. It's us. The people who like to laugh and enjoy a nice uncensored night of comedy. That's you got to be. That's the craziest thing about all of this reporting here. Now, obviously, it's a week before. It's the intelligence community. Remember, the intelligence community this time 4 years ago were out there working overtime to lie about the Hunter Biden laptop and its origins. They were working overtime this time last year. Now, I guess they have a little else to do than just to declassify a missive about how it's an unstable atmosphere out there. We don't have any specific threats, but just watch out for the right wingers. It's just so incredible. You know, any time of any movie that you ever watch, V for Vendetta, I mean, you name it, any kind of dystopian future movie, there's always a sick media aspect of it where you and certain protagonists in the film, you can see right through the media portrayals of what's going on in the world. You know, just as, you know, from your point of objectivity as an audience member, that the media is there not to tell you the news, but to give you the cover up and to also carry water for the state. It is so, I mean, the Louis Protheros of our time, all over the place. It is just so pathetic. It's so pathetic. Laughingstock media. We were talking about it last night. But, you know, because there you go. They've been talking nonstop about these heightened Hitler comparisons for the last week and a half, crazier than they've ever done it before. And they've been doing it for a decade now. And now, of course, a week before the election, exactly 1 week, less than a week now, because when you wake up next Tuesday morning, it's already time to vote. Less than a week away. Now they're shifting it on to us. Hitler has done his job. He has stoked anxiety and hatred of political opponents, and now we just don't know how those little Hitler youths, those youths are going to react. But thankfully, we have the intelligence operations out there. Very intelligent people.
In recent weeks, with a series of arrests for election threats, including a man in Philadelphia who allegedly threatened to skin election workers alive. And remember last week, police in Phoenix arrested a person in connection.
You know how many people in New York City are just generally saying they're going to skin everybody alive in the street? You don't think you can go to Philadelphia right now and find somebody muttering about wanting to skin somebody alive right now? That's like taking one comment on Twitter and saying and extrapolating that out to the entire voter base or entire, you know, fandom of one team or another, one sport or another. This is the news every night. There was a man in Philadelphia said he was going to skin poll workers alive. Wow. I can make up something too, you know.
With a mailbox fire that damaged around 20 ballots. The report identified potential targets of violence to include candidates, elected officials, election workers, members of the media, and judges involved in election cases. The potential threats include physical attacks and violence at polling places, ballot drop boxes, voter registration
soaping of windows, TPing people's houses, and throwing eggs. Whatever. Here's Rachel Maddow took Victoria Nuland, the potato lady, one of many potato ladies, but she is more potato-y than most. Victoria Nuland just came out just to remind everybody that Russia is already interfering with this election, which is, I don't know, so it's not as secure as the last election, which was the most secure. So if Russia, well, let's just listen to this potato girl.
Third election in a row in which Russia has tried to interfere to try to get Trump into the White House. How do you assess the magnitude and...
Blinky, bitch. Blinky. Just watch her blinks. Remember, there's a person inside of Rachel Maddow that is using Morse code through her eyelids. She's blinking out an SOS. Whatever the hell is talking right now, we don't know. But there is a Rachel Maddow that is inside of this person that is using her eyelids as Morse code.
And the type of interference they're attempting this year compared to what they've done in his previous two elections.
Well, as you said earlier, Rachel, he's at it again. This time he's not even trying to hide his hand, and he has far more sophisticated tools. You know, his AI is better, so he can make these fake videos. He has done things like spend $10 million trying to buy American influencers and get them
She's a murderer, by the way.
His lines and not even know it's happening. But he's also got a brand new, very, very powerful tool, which is Elon Musk and X. You know, in 2020, the social media companies worked hard with the U.S. government to try to do content moderation, to try to catch this stuff as it was happening. But this time, we have Elon Musk talking directly to the Kremlin and ensuring that every time the Russians put out something like this, it gets 5 million views on.
I would love to we should send her to the front lines in Ukraine. She knows everything. She'd probably be the greatest general that they ever had. Send her out there. Let's do it. Let's get this thing wrapped up, shall we? My God in heaven. So I guess that this is already the least secure election ever. Until, of course, they declare who they want to be president as president. Then it was the most secure again. And no matter how much of an advantage Putin had this time around, the third time around, they vanquished him. They're completely schizophrenic. And Putin, on the other hand, is holding strategic nuclear drills at this point. So they are preparing for whatever the hell our psychotic government might be doing next over there in Russia and around the world. And our psychotic government is preparing for us, who is their true number one enemy. They're preparing for whatever they are going to, say we did. Anywho, yeah, that's what we have over there. I want to get to Grace in just a second here. Just a little bit more on that U.S. Capitol Police exercise. On Monday, October 28th, that was yesterday, approximately 7 p.m., we will be working with our federal partners on a routine training exercise on the grounds of the U.S. Capitol. Please do not be alarmed if you see emergency vehicles and low-flying helicopters. Now, I would have to imagine that the military presence at the Capitol for the elections is going to be the normal thing going forward, too. They'll probably have the barricades up. The tanks will be in there. Things like that, I'd have to imagine is going to be just par for the course from now on. That's what I think. They want everybody feeling a certain way about things, and that's just the way it goes. That's the way the cookie crumbles with this group of people. Anyway, okay, so everybody's getting ready for the election. Everybody's getting ready. There's people rearranging their work schedules. They're planning their television watch parties. People are going to church. People are going to be getting drunk until they forget their names on election nights, whatever. But if you're the government and its media, you're preparing for the possibility of a war with both foreign nations and your own citizens. Either way, it's easy to say that something strange is going on here. And I couldn't think of a better person to have on this late in the game than our friend Grace. She is the best when it comes to putting out really compelling, well-produced, expertly sourced videos on a variety of subjects, from exposing hidden histories of the world to covering natural and perhaps unnatural disasters. And then, of course, there is the lifestyles of the rich and the infamous. So last time Grace was on, we were congratulating her on her book, The Deep State Encyclopedia, which actually resides right. Ooh. Yeah, see, Grace, it resides right here in my bookshelf next to the if I ever need a reference real quick, it's right here in my broadcast studio. So,
that's pretty handy. I love that.
I love it. Well, tell me about it. It's been out now for nearly a year. How's it doing? Is it really a bestseller?
It is still doing really good, and it's in the top 10 for encyclopedias on Amazon. So it's doing really great. And I think it sold 50,000 copies.
Wow.
So people are waking up, and people are buying it for their friends, and their family who are just waking up, especially after COVID, and getting them copies. And somebody told me that their husband reads it and they read it right before bed, but they had to stop reading it before bed because reality is a little too scary.
It sucks. It really does suck. I've always said this is one of those great coffee table books because you don't have to read it from cover to cover. It's a resource, and just if you have a couple of minutes, you just remember a few things. And yeah, there are things worth remembering, but they are also unsettling. Let me ask you this. First of all, welcome back. It's awesome to have you on. And
it's great to be back. Thank you.
It's great to have you. It's always very relaxing. I think that's the best thing about your videos is, and I'm sure you hear it all the time, you have a very soothing voice. So even though you're painting a picture, which is usually nightmarish, you can handle it, and that's fine with me. But here's an interesting thread that I want to pull on a little bit. We had this over here, MSN. Putin oversees strategic nuclear drills days before a U.S. election. So Russia is going through nuclear training exercise in the event that they have to deal with our psychotic government, and in turn, as I just said, our psychotic government is going through training exercises in the event that they have to deal with us. Now, where do you want to start with this? Because I know you did a lot about that DoD directive. And sure. So maybe just how do you see this going right now with the state of the country in the week leading up to the election and everything that people need to know about this new directive from the Department of Defense?
So this new directive, it was updated at the end of September, actually, September 27th, I believe, from 2016. And it's for the DoD, for their internal use. A directive is not a law. It's not a federal law or anything like that, but really like a guidebook for the employees of a government institution. So the DoD issued this and said that they updated it, saying that if police or any kind of police agency needs military backup, then hey, we can get you backup, and we are now allowed to use lethal force if deemed necessary. So in the instance, whereas before for riots or something like that, the DoD could say, hey, we need the military to fly over and get intel on these people. We need images of their faces and everything. Now they're saying, oh, you could shoot them if it's deemed necessary. And it's so scary, because we're reaching a fever pitch here. We're 1 week until the election, and no matter who wins, I'm not really sure it matters to a certain extent, because they have been stoking this division, this flame, and I believe they want civil unrest. I believe they want civil war.
I'm with you on that one. I think a lot of people would be. Because even when we have done our little games of projection over here and speculation, say, all right, well, let's do the pros and cons. What do you think we're going to be dealing with on by November 11th, about a week afterwards, when they've had all the time they need to try to make things exactly the way they want them? What's the way forward with one person or the other? They're both going to be very rough landings, and for all the reasons why you said, we've been brought to this point so that we really are not in a position to psychologically be able to handle anything. I saw somebody on Twitter said, I think that if and when Trump wins, we are going to see a major mental health situation in this country. And I said, no, well, I said, well,
Amongst the purple hairs, is that what they mean?
Perhaps, but that's the whole thing there is that they were coming at it from the standpoint of that there was going to be a mental health crisis that forms. I'm saying that he was probably a lot more accurate if you say that would be something that reveals a major mental health crisis. People are out of their damn minds, and
certainly.
Yeah. So I mean, how's it by you? Because you're in Georgia.
Comparing Trump to Hitler all this time, and even in recent weeks, in recent days, how can you do that as a news agency? I don't understand, but it's so heated right now, and people are so misguided. They're so directed by media to have this outrage, and it's really like a battle of who can be most offended on the left. And I think if Trump wins, the left is, I don't like to play right left, but those people burn down cities. Those people are the violent ones, and they get assembled through all these different agencies, like Soros-backed agencies, as rent-a-mobs. So how easy would it be just to install them across the United States in the event that Trump wins?
It's very easy. And that's what makes it even more diabolical when we turn on the television. I just played an MSNBC clip. I don't know if you saw it, but there they are breaking down a missive that came directly from the intelligence agencies that aren't even warning about any kind of tip that they have in particular, but just warning about a general aura, a general atmosphere of hostility. Meanwhile, as you just said, the last couple of weeks alone have been incredible as far as the Nazi Hitler programming that they've tried to run for the last 10 years and has worked to actually lessening degrees. And man, they've gone for broke the last couple of weeks, and now here they are warning about us. Meanwhile,
and then they come out with the AI Hitler speeches. Yeah.
How much of that have you looked into? Like, how much can be? Because I've seen the evidence of AI in a lot of the photography, but how much have you gone into that in particular?
On if they're accurate or not? I haven't gone into actually, going word by word and seeing if the AI is correct, but I've listened to them, and I know a lot of people have, and it's quite surprising what he was actually trying to warn the world about. And we have a big problem of, I'm not denouncing anything Hitler did or didn't do, but we have a problem of victors rewrite history. History is written by the victors. So it's quite eye-opening to see AI doing these speeches and actually hearing what he had to say, because it's a lot different than what we're taught.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the big thing. And they freak out because a lot of young people have been listening to AI translated Hitler speeches. And the real thing there is, you would want any kind of a society to just study everything and to be able to understand exactly who was doing what and why. But there's a very
we've got to get a big lay of the land there. Like, we need it all. We need every single side. We don't need a big gaping hole. Otherwise, somebody's going to fill it with some kind of nonsense. And I think that's a huge issue. Like, I spent a semester in Berlin doing all kinds of Hitler history, where we went as a group over to where he allegedly killed himself, paid 20 euros to do it. And it turns out he didn't even kill himself there. I mean, I want my 20 euros back.
I know. I mean, you would not find, there was no lack of people that would even tell you that he lived well beyond the end of World War II. That say he got onto one of those very.
Yeah. We had so much. Sorry, there's a little lag. Sorry if I was talking over you just then.
No, we're good. Keep going. Yeah. So you said
So we did this whole semester in Berlin studying Hitler and propaganda and sports, and all of it is a lot of it is just a tourist industry, and a lot of the history we're told isn't even accurate. So we need all of it. We need every single side in order to determine what actually happened. And that's the real trouble. And especially like with the media now, saying a lot of the newspapers saying we're not going to endorse a certain president, but they have thinking that, people are going to forget the last 10 years. They're going to forget COVID and what everybody did and what the media did to the middle class. I think they're setting it up for them not having liability over or trying to escape liability over stoking the flames of the election once the results are in.
Yeah, it's always about they don't want liability because this is obviously you've done a lot of work on Cloward Piven approach to trying to wipe out what is left of the country from a governmental standpoint and turn it into something new. They need to be able to distance themselves from accountability because they're really hoping to have a major stake in what replaces all of this once the Cloward and Piven collapse is actually completed.
Right.
Now,
they're going to implode it.
Yeah. And now, and even going back to the Hitler question, it's along the same lines as education in the United States about the Civil War.
Sure.
It is both sides have taken the proposition nation thing, the one nation thing. We are not a republic anymore since the Civil War. There's plenty to be said about why the North and the South were fighting. But of course, both sides would tell you if you say anything other than it was the abolition of slavery, you are some kind of an ass backwards Southern cause loser. And it's not the case. And just like even with Hitler, there's bigger questions there. Yeah, listening to his speeches and seeing, what was affecting Germany at the time and how people wanted to be, taken out of the degeneracy and all the shit that was going on, the monetary craziness, the hyperinflation. But
the first transgender clinic opening up in Weimar 10 years prior, and the basically the Kalergi plan in place he was warning about. I mean, some of the stuff he was right. He was definitely right.
I know. And that's why it's interesting. It's necessary people to know the whole thing because it's not that you're going to conclude, wow, this Hitler was a necessarily a great man, but you might start finding that he had sponsors too, and that he was doing. He was not the top of the heap even himself, and they just want everything to be in a very small petri dish where there's no place to expand. Absolutely. And no context to be gained from anything. So I'm with you on that.
And no conversations had. You're not allowed to have these conversations. They're deemed that you're not being PC enough. You're offending someone. Someone's ancestor might have gone through something you're talking about. But we really need to reassess our education system because, like you're saying, even with the Civil War, it's like the questions that really need to be asked, you're not allowed to. And if you are asked, like you were saying, you're like the Grand Cougar, the Ku Klux Klan. So you're painted in such a way. But I don't think we should have fear around asking those questions, which is essentially, why I continue making these videos on YouTube, because certain questions need to be asked, certain conversations need to be had, and we got to get to the bottom of it. Otherwise, we're doomed to repeat history.
And if you don't do those things, like your videos, another reason that is what gives people like Mika Brzezinski and The View their cudgel, their Hitler cudgel, their 1939 MSG Nazi rally cudgel. You can, if people are looking into any story, piece of history, whatever the hell it is, if they're looking into anything with context, with nuance, and with no wrist slapping or anything like that, then suddenly these attack phrases, these trigger words, if somebody says Hitler, people don't suddenly start melting down and running for the hills. There's, like I said, that's the whole point. They want things to be simple, and without context, because they want them to be trigger words, and they want to train people like dogs. And that's what it doesn't matter what the hell it is. We're starting to see that is the case with so many things that we grew up just getting the reference, you know?
Absolutely. And I'm just ready for the conversation of whose body count was higher, Hitler's or Stalin's. There's so much history that we don't actually get into, especially with the Japanese too.
Mm-hmm.
What were they doing? Why are they getting the bomb dropped on them? We need to ask these questions, because we're at a heated point right now, and empires only last so long. So how do we preserve the empire? How do we preserve all we have? We got to ask these questions.
Yes, we do. And let me bring you over to North Carolina for a little bit. I love the other thing that you do. You know, something strange is going on with or in or whatever. But I also love the things that media won't tell you about Serial. And so let's talk a little bit about what the media isn't telling us about North Carolina. Obviously, less and less reason to tell us anything since this was a September storm, Helene, and we're about to enter November now. But the story hasn't gone away despite so much more happening since then. Is that the case? How do you've been doing a lot more on this since the media has really fallen off? What have you been putting together out there in North Carolina?
So we went to North Carolina last week. We went up from Atlanta to Asheville. And we were really just trying to gauge, it is what the media is reporting. Is that true, or is it false, or is it somewhere in between the truth? And we were specifically looking for these FEMA camps that they said they had set up outside of Asheville in West Canton, where they have these tornado shelters that they've set up, but they're not for people who are victims from the hurricane. They're actually for FEMA employees themselves, and because they anticipate being there for quite a long time, even though from what I saw driving around, people have homemade signs that say FEMA won't come up and ring the doorbell. They say, homemade signs that say FEMA's not doing anything, FEMA won't help. And so we drove around, and I was not prepared for the extent of destruction that we actually saw 2 weeks after Hurricane Helene. And we didn't even go to the worst area. The worst areas were actually were in Rutherford County, Chimney Rock, Lake Lure. Where we went was the art district of Asheville, around like the industrial area. And the devastation was it's like a war zone. It's like a bomb dropped, and there's piles of debris 20 feet tall. There's no way these people have actually searched to the bottoms of these piles, and there's also clothing in the trees like 20 feet up in the trees above your head, and it's just terrifying to think that the water surged that high. I've even heard 40 feet up in some places. So I definitely think, the work isn't done in North Carolina, and they're trying to say like the Red Cross is getting out. FEMA is saying that they don't want to be in these counties, or they're standing down in some of these counties because they think the militia is hunting them. They had like one instance where apparently someone called something in from the state militia, and FEMA was told to stand down, not knock, and leave the county for the day. And they did. And now, these people still really need help. They're out there sleeping in tents where their houses used to be. It's getting cold there. And people are living outside. They're homeless. And I've even heard rumors, unsubstantiated rumors as it stands right now, but several videos of people saying, if your family is homeless and you have young children, then we're going to come get your children. The government's going to come get your children because you can't home them, you can't house them, you can't feed them.
And that's still to this point unsubstantiated, but more and more people are reporting it.
I've seen about 4 videos reporting that.
Okay. You see,
Yeah.
I've been watching at this point. I watched. I don't know how many installations there are now, but at the time, TruthStream Media had a part 1, part 2 on North.
They put out another one today. Yeah, it's real good. It's on lithium far and wide outside lithium sites outside of North Carolina and North Carolina. These sites are everywhere, and you need to look at the map and see if your town falls under these lithium sites where they've said, oh, there's a big concentration of lithium, and just wait till your natural disaster happens there, sort of thing.
Yeah, see, that's what I wanted to ask you about in particular, what you've picked up along the way on the natural resource element of this, because whether you or, like I said, TruthStream and others, they continue to call attention for a variety of transformational issues to the area that go far beyond the need to completely rebuild towns. I mean, the entire communities they've been washed away. If they ever get rebuilt, who knows? But there's something even far beyond that. We heard a lot about this like world-class quartz deposit out there that is the best in the world as far as the cornering the market of semiconductors in the future. The lithium thread that is people have been pulling on that. What do you got on that? Because it took a storm of this size, magnitude, and destructive power for many people to even just go back and see what had been published about spruce pine, places like spruce pine, just over the last few years, and it's pretty heavy. I mean, it was like earlier on, I think in 2023 or maybe even this year, I saw one article that was published that was saying, it's one thing to say that, hey, this area over here in North Carolina or Kentucky or whatever is very rich in natural resources. It's another thing to say things like the future of the world economy rests on spruce pine. I mean, that makes things so much more interesting. So
it gives a sinister tone to this entire hurricane, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So as far as the lithium is concerned, I will only be quoting TruthStream because they did amazing work on this. But lithium is the new oil, apparently, for clean energy, whatever they say. But apparently it's in large deposits across the country. And spruce pine was one of these places where they're trying to propose this battery plant in this mine. And I'm thinking of Maui here. In what TruthStream said about, lithium burns real hot. As far as the resources it takes, once you have a lithium mine, a battery plant, if that catches fire, the resources it takes to put out that kind of fire is so much more than a normal fire. And so I think of Maui in that sense, and I have to wonder, what was there, but or Lahaina rather. And as far as North Carolina is concerned, what's funny, and it's not funny, it's terrible, but all these people are out of a job because their jobs don't exist anymore. Their homes don't exist anymore. So in Augusta the other day, FEMA has a hiring, like a job fair. Augusta was one of the hardest hit places in Georgia for Hurricane Helene. And now that everybody, we don't have a job, we don't have a home. So how are we going to pay our bills? How are we going to build a home back? I guess we're going to work for the government. Is that our only option when your entire town was washed away, when your whole life was washed away? We're working for the battery plant, the mine, or the government. And FEMA's hiring in Augusta if anybody needs a job, I guess.
See.
But the max amount of funds FEMA is willing to put out per home, per family, is $42,000. So even if you do get that granted, what are you going to build with $42,000?
A garage. You can build a garage with it. My God. At least in New York, I know that things are, prices for everything are a little bit better down south, but $42,000, that's not sufficient for anything. Just like the initial sum of $750 was starting to get floated out there, and people were sneezing at it, saying, shove it up your ass. because what the hell am I
Yeah,
going?
$755. See, I mean, it doesn't matter how much you give at that rate because $750. How much is that for a hotel room 3 nights?
Depending, maybe a motel. Again,
Yeah.
we're coming from different worlds, Grace. $750 up here at a hotel maybe gets you 2. So
Right.
damn.
Well, down here it gets you 3. we could do 3 down here.
Good.
I'm in LA, Lower Appalachia, so
Okay, little bargain, little haggling room you guys have down there. We don't have
Sure.
much room to haggle up here. But that's an incredible thing, just even to consider with the lithium deposits and the burn rate, because this is a lot more of a contemporary natural resource that people are honing in on. I think about Centralia, Pennsylvania, that they had this the coal mine. There's a coal deposit underneath the town. I think that went up in flames. I don't know, the late 40s or something like that. And it's going to be burning for the next 250 years to turn that town into a ghost town. So to think about the volatility of these deposits, I didn't catch that part on any of those videos about the lithium, but just to think about what that means compared to the natural disasters of the past, damn, that's a lot. But then again, this was a disaster of water and not fire, so there is that. Any more on that in particular between the lithium and the quartz? Because I was hearing a lot about locals resisting any kind of an expansion on work.
They were resisting it, and FEMA announces months down the line about what they're actually going to buy up in these disasters. So once this doesn't have anything to do with lithium, but it does in an indirect way. If your home is now in a floodplain because the hurricane completely changed the topography of North Carolina, of Tennessee, of these places, you can't rebuild there. The government is going to seize it. So even I was looking at FEMA stuff, and they do buyouts. So is it going to be a situation where they do buyouts on the town a couple months later when we're no longer discussing this and we don't have constant reports on this particular study or this particular issue? I don't know, but I'm not too good on the lithium stuff because there is like an element of that story where it's like a little too perfect. You know what I mean? There's something about it. It almost seems like that, not that it's false or anything, but that's the story at the forefront.
Yeah, I know, and it's also what has fed a lot of the speculation about the storm itself. I have plenty of friends who are on opposite sides of this here too. All of them. And here's the thing, there's a split between people who understand that geoengineering is real, weather modification. I mean, we've been seeding weather locally since the 19th century. We've been weaponizing it effectively since the 1960s. But is this an example of weaponized weather or merely vulture-like opportunism in the wake of a natural disaster? Like you said, these deposits are all over the place.
Right.
The way that the quartz deposit is described is very, very unique. But lithium is all over the place, as you were saying. So I just don't know if is that something that you decided not to go into, or did you peek around on the weather side of things?
I was more on the weather side of things. I did both, but I am just so taken with how the media has treated these people in North Carolina and saying that, they're all these people got on TikTok, got on the internet, and then got called Russian propagandists for telling you how the government responded to their disaster after they've lost everything. And all they're called is conspiracy theorists and spreading misinformation by the mainstream media. It is one of those things, the comedian guy at Madison Square Garden says all this stuff about Puerto Rico, but over here in Appalachia, it's nonstop jokes about how dumb we are, about how poor we are, poor white people, and being dumb and misinformed and misguided and all these things. It's constantly displayed by the media. And I think that plays into it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Go ahead. There was a lag again, but yeah.
No, I just think that there's a little lag. Sorry, it just plays into it in the sense that it's easy to write these people off as just dumb, poor, and stupid, and alarmists, and they'll believe anything and things like that, and that FEMA is having too hard of a time responding to this disaster because of this disinformation instead of how FEMA is behaving.
That's a great segue to something else I want to ask you about. Going back to the beginning of our talk tonight, speaking about the DOD directive about supporting local authorities, even if it's in lethal force scenarios and all that. Since late September, when Hurricane Helene made landfall, there has been a major battle over jurisdiction between FEMA, civilian organizations that are out there trying to help people when there just seems to be too much bureaucratic, slow grinding red tape or whatever, militia groups, all that. And to your point again, right now, the media coverage on everything going on down there and the rescue efforts has been a mess. It's been very hard to figure out what's been happening. Like you said, they seem to be they're always in a defensive cover-up position where instead of seeing what people are reporting and trying to get to the veracity of the whole thing, they take the side of the anti-conspiracy theorist. And it makes everything horrible. It forces us to go deeper into the internet to see what people are uploading on location. And sometimes that's not the best thing, too. I mean, but we take what we can get. How does this directive apply?
I feel like people are just so desperate for the truth there. And the directive itself, it makes me think that when there's all these rumors and articles about the militia in North Carolina being hostile towards FEMA, that they're going to basically put them under martial. That's my fear, that they're going to put them under martial law while they're trying to rebuild. And there's no way that they're going to be able to rebuild in time because they simply don't have the resources. The good old boys are doing everything. The community is doing everything. And the governor is trying to get he says that $53 billion in damages is the total cost, but I'm sure it's much, much more. And if the media is portraying these victims as hostile, I can only think that that directive would be applicable in this situation. And one example of why I think that is because of that footage that I posted from our visit to Asheville. A news agency emailed me and said, hey, can we use your footage, specifically this clip? And the clip they wanted was us rolling by these warehouses that had been totally destroyed, and outside on the front in big red letters was "Looters will be shot." That was the clip they wanted. So that just goes to show you that's the angle they want to cover. They want the victims to be painted as hostile.
Yes, and because I have seen some body cam footage of business owners being kept out of their businesses that wanted to go in there and maybe try to salvage what might be left of their belongings, their whatever the hell, their supplies, anything like that. So I've already seen people. There's no other. I don't see how it could be out of context. At least all this. Maybe for it's a safety thing, or they are afraid that people are going to go into a structure that might not be secure anymore. The roof will fall
liability
down.
and all these.
Yeah, perhaps that's what it is.
Things, yeah.
But you'd think that in an Armageddon situation, because on a local level, they might as well have been hit by a comet. You would think that on a local level, all of the red tape, you would just get down to the humanity of the situation, and you might get people saying, listen, go. Anybody who has a helicopter license, go. I'm not going to wait for a higher up, just go. You would think that there would be a little bit more, and perhaps there was. We're only getting snippets, and everybody's emotional. I guess that's the issue too. But
yeah, and for a long time, they didn't actually even have any kind of internet or cell phone service. So we're still just the wildest stories, I'm sure, haven't been told yet. Mm-hmm. These people in these small towns, it's hard to imagine if you're from a big city, but a lot of these small towns are like 100 people, and they're up in the mountains. And it wasn't just flooding that these people suffered. It was also mudslides, landslides. So they got essentially taken down the mountain to the river. And it's going to take a while to search through all that. I don't care what anybody says. I saw it with my own two eyes. They have not searched all of it. And it's completely worse in other places. So the total number is being reported is not correct. And even when news media reached out to FEMA, they said they didn't have a running tally of how many were missing. And you get on Facebook and you look up North Carolina or Hurricane Helene missing. What pops up instead of these Facebook pages with these huge Google Docs of people missing is actually an ad for climate change.
Imagine that. Have you, because this would be going back to 2022. I had something here that came in about an hour or so ago. I thought it was really, really interesting. Do you remember because you cover all of the anomalous trends that start up with all the food processing plants going up and, all this stuff. It's really great how you aggregate this stuff at times, especially when these are things that everybody else just seems to think is just, it happens, everybody's food processing plants just go down within the same 6 months. But in December 2022, here it is right here. 2 electrical substations in Moore County, North Carolina were attacked by gunfire, leaving over 45,000 people without power for almost 4 days. The attack was intentional and targeted, and one woman who used an oxygen tank died. The FBI and Moore County Sheriff's Office are investigating it still, and a reward of up to $100,000 is still being offered. They still don't know who did it. You remember that? That there was that...
Actually, I don't remember that, but it's tickling my brain right now of me saying that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then listen to this. I got an email. I said, I'm gonna throw this out there to Grace. This is from a listener out there. I'm going to call him S. And S says this, Frank, keep eyes on North Carolina. Former Green Beret, disenfranchised stormtrooper for the International Bankers and now retired, stationed at pre-woke Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I've been doing some thinking. Could there be connective tissue between the 2022 attack on our power grid and the upcoming election? The culprits were never identified, which is suspicious, and the drag show pretext didn't smell right. They said that it might have been to ruin a drag show.
Yeah, they blamed it on hatred. Yeah,
exactly. It occurred in Moore County, which, to those not familiar, is an enclave of Special Forces and Delta Force who settled north near Pinehurst to get away from Vietnam, as it is affectionately called. It was a dress rehearsal. Here's the questions. Was it a dress rehearsal like Event 201 and the like? North Carolina could decide this election. Are they going to take out the grid in the days after November 5th to say that the results are inconclusive? What are your thoughts, S? So I wanted to throw that your way because it's not just about that one particular thing in 2022, but it is true that North Carolina is one of those very important states. So is Georgia. So is Florida. And we have this election in less than 7 days now. Plenty of people have wondered how everything that's happened over there just in the last 2 months would affect turnout in these very key states. But what do you think we've seen over the last 4 years? There's been plenty of cyber attacks and power and all this shit. Any thoughts that you can cobble together?
Sure. I think that it absolutely, there was no follow-up on that story. I remember looking and there was no follow-up. But the story itself was very strange and almost seemed like it was used for political reasons. Especially with the whole drag story hour going there, because people are like, people don't die at drag shows, but they're firing, they're firing rounds into the power grid. It really seemed like that was a political motive. And I do believe we have been under constant attack by these people, from the food processing fires to the attacks on our grid to these the cybersecurity games that they're all playing. It's kind of wild because you don't realize, unless you compile it all, what has actually gone down. And so many events over the past 4 years, COVID aside, have been very troubling. And as far as the hurricane victims, voting, getting out to vote. If your entire life just washed away, would you be getting out there? It crosses 5 different states, I'm pretty sure. Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, and North Carolina was affected by Hurricane Helene. And those people are, in my head, it's a red state. And certainly that has had some kind of effect on their infrastructure and their ability to cast their vote. However, I did also see that the boundaries for which they could, the places they could go vote have been extended, so they can go vote at more places now. But as far as the election is concerned and all of these cyber attacks and everything, I still think that, you light the ballot boxes on fire, you have ballots they find in the road, sort of thing, like that guy did last night in Miami-Dade County. It seems like a distraction from the larger issue here, which, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, I could be right or wrong, Microsoft, Bill Gates has a backdoor to all of these computers because all government computers run on Windows Microsoft. So he has a backdoor to all of them. So obviously, he just put $50 million behind Kamala. If you believe in politics at all, that is a troubling detail there, that he has a backdoor to all these.
Yeah. No, I saw that. I saw the Google numbers. I saw all the financial breakdowns between the two candidates. And those are the more, that is the more troubling thing, because it's not just about how much money you're going to put in into the kitty over there. It's the nature of those companies. It's the products that they put out there. That's the fact that they are the brain trust behind the biggest search engines on the planet and everything else. That if you think that they're only contributing dollars and cents and not some
not influence and P. Diddy, blackmail. Yeah, I was also, I'm always amused by these little stories about voting, these ballots that they find. It just seems like, oh, look here, look at these ballots we found. We're totally not going to do anything after the election. They're always threatening that they're going to have to count ballots after the election, for days after the election. True, not true. I think last time, we had the what did I hear someone call it? The 3 a.m. Viagra of the Biden win.
Oh,
yeah,
that's a good one.
We had that. So they just stole it outright. And I remember doing a video 4 years ago about how they announced it. They announced that Biden was, as soon as one reputable source had him as the winner, he was going to roll with it. And all the social media giants all were behind him and enforced that and censored anybody who said anything to the contrary.
You know what? Speaking of social media giants, and not only that, but I think one of the first people that everybody was waiting for to make that pronouncement was the AP. And this was all part of the crazy thing about this stuff is that they understand everything they're doing is unethical and in many ways should be illegal. Whatever. It's the unethical nature of the whole thing. In 2020, it was very, very meticulously laid out for us by outlets like Axios. They were the ones, we bring it up all the time. They're the ones that actually introduced the country to the whole red mirage idea. Assuring people, Hillary Clinton put it out there too, assuring people that not only is election night something, a convenience of the past we need to do away with in our minds. We're in a new era now. We're going to need more than just one day, and it's okay. That's the first normalization thing that they rolled out there. But then it was the red mirage. When you go to sleep, don't be surprised if it looks like Trump is running away with this one. You just need to give it some time because we have to process all of the mail. I mean, the Axios. That's why I call them the Axios powers. They laid it all out there, and then they even put out a short little blurb maybe a day or two before November 3rd election in 2020, where they were saying the game plan for the Biden team is probably to, wait it out until the Associated Press or somebody makes the pronouncement and then act as if. They just have to, no matter what they hear at that point, they just have to act as if you are the president-elect and just leave it all behind and just be the man. And that's what it is. It was all one big fucking LARP, and they put it out there that way too. Now, this time around, there's a lot of answers that, a lot of questions that are unanswered. There's a lot more people who are awake. People's lives have gotten progressively worse. People have lost a lot of people in their lives. Everybody mentally is in a completely different place. And the things that used to shut us up out of fear 4 years ago, it's not doing it anymore. And now we're even seeing this weird infighting in the media. What do you take away from the fiasco with the newspapers? Washington Post, LA Times, they won't make an endorsement. Everybody's canceling their subscriptions. What do you make of that?
I just think they're totally bunk as far as like getting people on their side. And, it's been exposed. Obviously, one of the first things you learn when you're waking up is the media just lies constantly. But I think they're getting rid of their liability if they endorse a candidate in order to cover whatever happens after we actually get this election down, to seem neutral in a sense. As far as their coverage of civil unrest and things like that. But I actually really love to watch them all fight amongst each other. That's one of my favorite things. I love to watch them eat their own sort of thing. I watched the CNN clip yesterday of the guy saying, I hope your beeper goes off or something. Let's hope your beeper doesn't go off. Did you see that clip?
I did. And the gasps. You can hear gasps in the room. I love it. This is it. I'm glad we're on the same page with this. It makes me feel happy.
It brings me a little bit of joy, a little bit. And then they continued videoing for 10 minutes and it was so awkward. And I loved that. Keep doing that.
What else do you do for enjoyment these days, Grace? I know that from what you put out there on Twitter, especially during the spring and the summer, a lot of gardening. How's that all been for you? What's been the big project this year outside of your profession?
Oh, probably getting in my apocalypse garden. And we have 20 chickens now. We're officially like crazy chicken people.
Nice.
And we got 5 more chickens the other day. So we get 15 eggs a day.
Wow.
Soon to get 20. What do we do with all these eggs? I don't know. We don't eat them. We give them away. But just in case the apocalypse comes through town, we're going to be eating eggs and deer meat.
Listen, you don't need anything else.
I have my husband tasked to build me a greenhouse this year. So hopefully I'm going to get a greenhouse in the future and we'll be able to overwinter plants and grow plants in the winter, grow vegetables in the winter.
See, that's great. And I guess that would have to in some ways be tied into what your post-election mentality is going to be. I know that you probably don't have a lot of stock put into any candidates, but we all have to live in a world where these elections have lasting impacts on our personal lives, and we have to be prepared for all possible outcomes. So going into the late fall, early winter, and of course knocking on the door of 2025, which kicks off with the inauguration of one person or another, what's your mindset going forward for the next few months?
My mindset is just, I think the circus, it has pulled into town and I don't think they're leaving for a while. I don't think it's pessimistic to basically state the nature of our reality. And that is it. I see a circus coming into town and I am of the mentality. I get a little more radicalized each and every day. But buy land, become self-sufficient, and learn how to defend yourself and don't be reliant on the government. And that is my mentality moving forward. I pay attention to the circus, but we spend a lot of time as a family just doing our own thing and learning new skills. And I also homeschool. We're doing homeschool now too for preschoolers, so we do that too.
Nice. Have you been able to find like a a pod learning scenario for your kid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We do like a rotating thing where you host it one week and somebody else hosts it the next.
Okay, and these are all people you know, or did you find them through a Facebook group or something? Because we're in the same thing where we're Aurora's 4, she just turned 4. I know that we're on the same timeline, and I know over the next year that would be awesome for us to work into it. We're doing a lot of things from home as well, but definitely want to get her into some kind of a group setting at least a couple times a week.
I met my favorite homeschool mom at my daughter's swim lessons. So I just, you make little statements. You plant little seeds and see where people are. And based on the reaction, you absolutely know if it's a go or not. So having daughters the same, you can join my pod if you live near me. We would definitely like to expand. And it's really fun. It's just girls right now, but it's fun because we incorporate these different kinds of systems. Like we do for school, and then we do regular, at the table, but a lot of hands-off learning and learning in nature. So it's pretty fun. Well,
that's awesome. Hey, you know what? One last thing before we leave. The Georgia, because this is right next door to you, well, at least in the same state, the biolab fire. That's another thing that happened not too long ago, just late summer. This has significantly less coverage again, but it can be placed into the same category as maybe not as bad as, or then again, I don't know, East Palestine, Ohio. That was an absolute disaster from last year. But again, that just went away.
Absolutely.
And so these chemical fire situations, they are not uncommon for us now. What the hell happened with this? Because I had a lot of people from Georgia saying that there was a pink sky for at least a week.
Yeah. So after Hurricane Helene, there was you hear biolab and you think, oh, they're making, they're making the monkeypox in there or something like that. But it was actually a chlorine pool and spa facility that they said, and it caught fire due to a sprinkler, like a malfunctioning sprinkler. And when these chemicals intercept with the water, it causes a fire that takes so long to burn out, and they just let it burn out on itself, essentially. So it smoldered for days and days and days. And Conyers is 50 miles away from me. It's probably 30 miles away from Atlanta. And people were seeing pink skies and real haze, like very hazy, and it smelled like plastic outside, even as far as where I'm at. And they said they even smelled it in Alabama. So that happened. And chlorine gas, when exposed to water, it becomes like chlorine gas, which was outlawed in World War I. They don't let you make chlorine gas and use it on your enemies anymore, but we just get it here in Atlanta for free. And we don't know the lasting effects of such a thing, on the environment, in the groundwater. What happens when it rains? It hasn't rained since then. And the guy who went to testify, I think it's Rockdale County, who went to testify about the water and the soil samples, because there's this big lawsuit happening because people in Conyers were coughing up blood and their beehives died and, stuff, horrible stuff. He went and testified 2 weeks ago. His name's Kenny Johnson. 62-year-old Kenny Johnson. He dropped dead right after testifying, and the GBI was said to do an autopsy, but they haven't done an autopsy at all, even though it was suspicious circumstances. They just released his body.
Are they not going to at this point?
They're not going to.
Wow. Well, what does that tell you? Oh man, and see, that's another thing. And that's why I love the way that you take a lot of these things and you archive them, and it becomes part of your catalog over there on all the many channels that you have, and all the other people who do stuff like this too. Because if we measure time by election cycles, whether it be 2 or 4 years, the things that happen in between that capture our attention and probably need our attention for a while, but that just go away because they've been replaced by something else. Are they distractions, or is it just an avalanche of happenings? And the human mind can only hold so much information and make so many connections, and we try our best, but damn, these are the things that we forget. And this was just 5-6 weeks ago. Anyway, thank you so much for the time tonight. It was great hanging out with you. I'd love to have you stop by or send a video over the holidays again, like we did last Christmas or something. We got.
I will.
Yeah, we got to do something chill again. But all the best to you. Please let everybody know where to find you and what you got coming up next and all that stuff.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, Frank. It's always great to be on with you. Yeah, I love your channel and I love your entire audience. They're so sweet and so smart too. I got lots of people last year messaging me from your show, but you can find me at ReallyGraceful on any of these platforms. Sometimes I'm on YouTube. They took down a lot of my videos. YouTube, X, BitChute, Rumble, Instagram. You can find me at any of those places. And you can also find my book on Amazon, The Deep State Encyclopedia, if you want to have conversations with your family about these things. It's a good resource to navigate those conversations in a way that is essentially fact-checked in real time.
Absolutely. There is her Rumble. And as I held up the book before, The Deep State Encyclopedia, it is always
I got one holding at my computer.
see, it's a paperweight for her, and for me, it is a vital resource over here at the studio. And anytime I need to run something up the flagpole to see what comes back, thank you for all of your efforts, Grace. It'll be great to talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much, Frank. Talk to you soon.
All right, bye-bye. There you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're in the area, you want to homeschool with Grace, give her a call. That's what I got. All right, listen, I'm going to take your calls. I have some other things to show you. Let me just go get another mug of water over here. Intermission, 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere. And I'll tell you what's going to come up after the show. And you're going to like this. We got the Jeff Bezos opening letter in the second half. Plenty of time for calls, your super chats, quite frankly, superchat.com. If you're watching on YouTube, I know a lot of you are tonight. Remember, we've been demonetized for 4 years now. If you want to send a super chat to support the show, to send a joke, a shout out, a little tidbit, anything on tonight's topics, quite frankly, superchat.com. It'll bring you right to where you need to be. Be right back.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out to press the like button. Thank you.
Quite frankly.
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 Quite frankly, guys.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
So everybody watch. Quite frankly. With Frank.
I have loved to take you to the World Series. And you know what? Maybe we can do it again next year. Who knows? Maybe we can. Maybe we can do it again next year. But on the flip side, I'll take you out to dinner. And this is just, you can't plan for something this pathetic. I couldn't have planned for that. So, all right, let's see. Where are we? 914-200-0269. There's probably plenty that you want to tell me. So call in. But you want to talk about craziness? Aaron Rupar, he's a crazy motherfucker. Crazy motherfucker. Here he is. There he is with his bucktooth and beaver face on Twitter. He has a problem with RFK Jr. apparently making an appearance on, what is this, Fox and Friends, saying that he will get processed foods out of school lunches immediately. Here's what he says. Let's listen to RFK Jr. making a statement you would think that everybody would want to get behind. And if Michelle Obama went out there and said something like this, they would have peed all over themselves. But of course, she didn't say anything like that. She gave everybody a half-cooked hot dog and a slice of white bread and called it a nutritious meal. Destroyed school lunches. RFK is like, hey, can we stop with the processed foods? Aaron Rupar says, RFK Jr. clearly plans to be some sort of food dictator under new Trump administration. What? You found a way to be upset about a statement like that? You buck-tooth fuck? How do you find the will to be upset about that?
What is your question?
About 100,000 schools participate in the USDA's national lunch program during the year. If you're given a position by the Trump administration in the agricultural department, what will you do to improve school lunches?
I'll get processed food out of school lunch immediately. About half the school lunch program goes to processed food. About 70% of food stamps go to processed food. 10% of food stamps go to sugar drinks, to sodas. We're creating diabetes problem in our.
He's talking about. He knows the issue so much. He knows what percentage of the food program is including processed foods. Is he telling people that you're not going to eat or not going to feed your children in school? He's not saying anything like that. He's saying, oh, yeah, we want to make sure your children eat healthy. And also, we know that most of the food stamps are being used for bad foods as well. We want to make sure even those who are on government assistance are eating healthy food. And, of course, these people, they found a way to make that a bad thing. You're never, like I said yesterday, observing the protester mentality, the leftist mentality, seething like homeless, like mumbling homeless people. They have no way to relax. They have no chill, nothing like that. They make a statement. You want to put them in their place, but like I said, there's no place to put them. It's like that clown, the inflatable bouncy clown. You knock it over, whatever, it bounces right back up and it's just staring at you. Stop. No place to put them. Anybody who has to twist themselves into a pretzel to make I will get processed foods out of school lunches. He's not saying I will get lunches out of schools. They're out of their minds. Don't even talk to them. Seriously. That's all. Just have a good life. It's the best way to win at this point. You have to live a good life. And you have to have no regard for anybody else who's protesting the way that you live your life. It almost sounds like the way they see themselves to be. Keep your business, keep your politics out of my life. We're actually trying to. Actually, most people are trying to. But so that's one thing. That's incredible. 914-200-0269. Oh, we got a couple of calling in. Hold on. Actually, why the hell did that freeze up on me? Very strange. Real quick, Ronan Dosho. Thank you so much, my friend, for being out there. That's on quitefranklysuperchat.com. Jay Britt says, I'll catch you on the flip side. Thank you so much, Jay Britz. Good to have you out there. 210, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yo, what's up, Frank? It's Francisco.
Hey, what's going on, Francisco?
Not much. Just chilling, man.
Good.
It's good to speak with you.
What's that? Oh, yeah, it's great to speak with you. Where are you from?
I'm from San Antonio, down south, Texas.
Okay. And how are things looking down there?
Oh shit, man! I don't know. I'm in Chicago right now.
Oh, okay. Well, when you are there, how does it look?
What do you mean, like weather-wise, or what?
No. Oh, wait. Are you living in Chicago, or are you just away from San Antonio?
Oh, it's weird, man. There was some people there. They're walking their dog, but it's like a black light, like LED, like sort of leash. But I couldn't see the dog or the person. I just saw this weird worm moving across the woods.
Right now?
Yeah, but it's actually just somebody walking their dog.
Are the Chicago has woods?
Well, I'm actually I'm in between a dog park and a train track.
Okay.
And so I came up here. I came up here for this woman, right? And I told her, I was like, I'm not leaving until we work this out, one way or the other. I was like, just tell me to go, and I'll leave. And then she, I guess she called my bluff because I haven't heard from her. So.
And she told you. So she told you to leave?
No, she didn't even want to talk to me.
Okay, so then it didn't work out.
So if I leave now, then it's like on me, right?
Well, there's nothing holding you there. So to hell with it. Now you can do whatever you want. Now you can go back to. Do you want to go back to San Antonio, or do you like Chicago that much?
Nah, I'm stuck on this woman, man. I refuse to exist in a universe where that's not in my timeline or whatever.
Okay, well, I would let go. From experience, I would if she's I would just let go and walk away and just
never.
See, this is a doer, everybody. This is a doer right here. Well, thank you for the call.
I'm going to stay here for as long as I can. I'm going to be here for at least another month or so, and if not, then I'll be like, all right, fuck it.
That's it. Well, you know,
I'm probably going to get like a tick on my dick or something hanging out here.
A tick or a chick?
No, it's a tick.
Okay, yeah. Well, stay out of those Chicago woods. I don't know what else to say to you, Francisco. That's a guy who's committed. He's committed. Anyway, let's take another one. 97. Oh, it's King. What's going on, man?
Yeah, it's me. How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
What a great guest, man. What a great guest. I love that woman, and I mean that with all due respect. When I said in the chat, whoever bagged this chick is a lucky man, she's probably lucky because she's probably got a good husband, too. And, you know, and what resonated with me, because she said she's from the Appalachians, and she's like, oh, everybody thinks we're all stupid down here. And I'll be honest, I've been guilty of that, of like thinking that about certain people from certain areas because I'm from the Northeast. But Frankie, you mean you're doing great things here by bringing guests on and letting them talk and presenting their issues. You know what I'm talking about? You're doing great shit here, Frankie. You really are.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate that, Santino. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Are you going to be voting on election day, right? You're not doing any early voting. I think I asked you this, right?
No. Yeah, you did. No, I'm going in on election day and I'm casting my vote for the greatest president ever, Donald J. Trump.
What do you got going on the rest of the night?
Nothing. I'm off for tonight, so I'm just watching you and probably just watching other YouTube videos or whatever. You know what I mean? Nothing much going on with me, but I just wanted to call in to reiterate what a great guest you had on and what great work you're doing by bringing people's views to the forefront and letting people know, you know, what they're really about. You know what I'm talking about?
Hey, I can't wait to do more of it, as always, because you know we've been trying to find something to, you know, been honing this craft since, I don't know, 2007, you know. So it's like it's one of those things where you've been watching for almost 20 years now, which is crazy to think about it. But I'm still really excited to see where it goes from here and all the different conversations we've yet to have. It'll be wonderful. I promise you that.
You're a good man, Frankie Valbero. Never forget that.
Thank you so much, Santino. I'll talk to you in a little bit.
All right, my friend.
All right, be well. There's the man, the myth himself. Let's take a call. 302. Sharon?
That's her son, Jeff.
Oh, Jeff, how are you? It's good to have you. I'm sorry. It's just not the most reliable caller ID, but it's good to have you on, Jeff.
It's Joe, but
Joe.
Could be on.
I don't have reliable ears either. Go ahead.
Now, I was overhearing your conversation earlier about Biden and the whole LARP thing and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I actually live in Newcastle, Delaware, and going back to Election Day 2020, I was at my buddy's house watching the election, and Trump was winning. We decided to take a ride, and we went by where Biden lives at, and there was like a motorcade and everything, and I didn't really think too much of it. But then after everything that happened and like everything that I saw like on the news and everything like that, like I pretty much came to the conclusion that like it was basically a setup. Like they pretty much knew the fix was in, and it was basically just like get Biden to the White House. We got the media on our side, and just pretend like everything went our way and that's just the way it went?
It was very easy to see that from the outside as well. From over, even without having anybody telling you what's going on, when you see this coordination on the media, there was a lot of it there. There was a lot of coordination, and then all of a sudden, the reverence everybody had for the office of the president-elect, and it was just, okay, well, forget about Trump. They actually cut back on all of the coverage they could have on Trump, and every day it was just huddling around Joe Biden, the president-elect, the office of the president. Like I said, oh, man. What a production we are seeing here, and so I guess certain people got that same point of view, but or at least they saw it from different angles, I should say. And let me put something else out there. Thanks you for the call, Joe. That Green Beret, my buddy the Green Beret, who wrote in, and I thought would be a good question to throw in with Grace. I asked him a little bit about what things are like over there, like what things are like in his neck of the woods, and he said he spoke pretty openly about stuff, and he said, "Here, you can read this on the air." And he said, "I still work for the government, but you would be surprised how openly we talk about this stuff. I feel like they realize the cat is completely out of the bag. We still have a few retard shills, but they're completely outnumbered. I have more disdain for the higher-ups that won't go anywhere near these topics, like the power outage and election interference and whether or not our enemies are actually here at home. What the hell is it? I have more disdain for higher-ups that won't go anywhere near these topics because they're jockeying for upper management. Just listen to the podcast Pineland Underground, and you'll see what I'm talking about. If you just refer to me as S, it's all good. Mind you, I don't have any real insider info. These are just hunches. But I asked him about, how is everything, when you say that the shills are outnumbered, what does that look like? He says, I work for a Special Warfare Center in school. This is the entry-level pipeline for Special Forces candidates, and all manages the advanced training like the Special Forces Sniper Course for Free Fall School, to name a few. In our institution, you have both current and former Green Berets intermixed as instructors, backside support, etc., GS employees, and active duty. In my day-to-day, there's one senior warrant officer in particular who suffers from serious TDS, and he's an anomaly. I'd say over 95% are based and would agree with everything discussed on your show. So it's kind of funny when I hear people worried about special forces coming out after the citizenry. The overwhelming consensus would be, fuck that, I'm out. So, that's I like hearing that. I don't think we have anything to worry about that as well. I do keep track of any kind of initiatives or any kind of incentives that this current form of government right now puts out into the public when it comes to trading citizenship or anything like that with illegal aliens in return for military service, especially since 77% of our youth over here are not eligible for military service because of all the processed foods we're eating, among other things. So I guess we'll have to just keep an eye out for that. Let's take a call. 702, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, it's Browntail. How's it going?
Hey, Browntail. Just kill that stream in the background. It's great to have you on.
Yep, got it. Bringing up the topic about the one that concerns me is where they're allowing federal troops shoot upon U.S. citizens. I was a prior service member. In fact, I was an officer, and one of the things they instilled on us on day one is the obligation to refuse an unlawful order. And I just want to kind of bring that up. Hopefully they're doing the new younger ones, teaching them the same sort of values, but they cite examples like the Miley incident and all that other stuff about, at least in the leadership officer corps, to say, hey, if you're given an illegal order by rights, you ought to refuse it. So hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully they're trying to purge the rolls and get rid of some of the bad apples they may have in their management stream with the military.
Yeah, that's you always hope for that, but then you read about all of the real general purges that were going on during the Obama years, and you wonder how much of this can be self-corrected, or if it really is just, again, another one of those things that every election is going to have just drastic impacts on the leadership and the chain of command in our military, especially ideologically. You would hope that had nothing to do with it, but it seems like it does have a lot to do with it.
Oh, I know. I witnessed a lot of that too. Don't forget, you had Mike Borda and the fuckery involved with his quote unquote suicide over a V device on a ribbon.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, there was a lot of purges that were going on. That was during the Clinton era too. So there's been, at least in retrospect, looking back, a lot of the conspiracies. I mean, I'm amazed daily how right Alex Jones has been on some of these things that he has brought forth. But yeah, dude, it's what times we live in, man. I just wanted to bring that up and have you punt that around for a bit.
Well, it's great to have you on the air, Browntail. You're one of our esteemed pilot listeners out there, and I'm glad to always get insight from you.
Yeah. Well, just got back from a trip from Cambridge, and I'm heading out tomorrow to hit Germany. So no rest for the wicked, like they say.
Absolutely. Well, take us some aerial shots, and I hope everything goes well for you.
Oh, I got some good photos of Aurora Borealis on one of my trips coming back. We went quite up towards the north, man. Some amazing pictures. I'll try to get it up on the forum for you.
Cool. Thanks a lot for that. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Cheers.
Okay. There you go. 8:36. Let's keep rolling here. Now tomorrow, just to let you know again, the Yankees are already down 2-0. If they come back and win this game, tomorrow I will be doing a midday stream in which I will be answering some questions that I have harvested from Patreon and Subscribestar from our monthly sponsors. I'll take some calls as well, but I want to prioritize some sponsor questions and all that. We also have the Halloween costume contest. We'll do some other things in the middle of the day just to be able to get a day in. A broadcast in, no matter what it is. I'll be doing it from the home office. If the Yankees shit the bed and this is the end of the season tonight, 7 o'clock we'll be here. I'll see if I can get George Alexopoulos to come back here. He was going to be on the show tomorrow night, but we'll see if I can get him booked again. And we will be doing your military, paranormal, ghost stories, all that stuff. It'll be a good one. Let's take a call. Is this Joel?
Yo, what's good, brother? Hold on, let me take off speakerphone.
Wow, man, I haven't heard from you in so long. How's life been?
Life is good, man. Just doing the thing, sitting out here in front of the fire, just hanging out, grilling some steaks, and
Did you get hit by Milton?
No, Milton was a little bit of weak sauce in my particular area. Helene knocked out the power, but a lot of other people in Florida had some much worse things happen, so it wasn't too bad for me in my particular area. But thanks for asking, brother. Appreciate it.
Oh, well, it's always good to hear you're well. Okay, so what's on your mind?
So you were talking about school lunches and stuff like that, and I wanted to chime in on that just real quick. And if anybody remembers, there was the meme that had gone out about the Agenda 2025, and if you look down a couple lines, it talks about eliminating school lunches and discounted lunches and such like that. And a lot of that stuff from the 2025, I believe that was really taken out of context. And I think we all understand that. But the school lunches thing was one that particularly hit me, was because, as you know, and where I teach is in a rural area, it's a poorer area, and the bad school lunches are beneficial for these kids. But the problem is that with these school lunches is that they're getting contracted from these larger companies like Cisco and all these other food distributors, and those are GMO foods and all these other nonsense. If people actually saw the lunches that these kids are getting in schools, it's a real travesty. And the fact that they want to eliminate that and revamp the system, and that's what I got from that particular part of Agenda 2025, was to revamp this particular system and help these people. And what RFK says, get out the nonsense, get out this bullshit, get out the other things that is hurting these kids, and get them into better diets that Obama fucked up and all this other nonsense. And it's really interesting to see that that's the one thing that's hurting us. And, you know, you see this Cisco food and these GMO foods and stuff like that, and you put them in your compost heap and the bugs won't even eat your food. You clearly know that it's an issue, and this is the stuff we're giving to our kids, and this has been happening for so long.
Yeah.
And that really struck a chord with me, and I just really, really need to call in and chime in on that one.
I remember right around the time, because that was one of the first lady's initiatives. They gave it to Michelle Obama. She had a whole team or whatever, and they gave her this idea. You know, go ahead and fiddle with the lunches. And once that really started, you know, reaching people, and kids started becoming, you know, they were faced with it every day. I remember there was a trend on Twitter, on Tumblr, on a few other places, and it had there's no political motivation for it whatsoever. Everybody was taking pictures of these paltry, disgusting lunches. Like I'm serious. Like I remember pictures of just like a hot dog without a bun, and then next to it is like a square piece of what looks to be Wonder Bread, but it's a smaller one piece of Wonder Bread, a carrot stick. It was so terrible to even look at. I don't know how anybody would ever look forward to it. And you know, it's one of those things where, okay, identify the problem. Let's stop doing something that's bad off the bat. But the other thing there too is, if we're going to talk about reform in this country, and you think about all of the money that's being taken from people constantly to fund these programs, this is another reason why stop taking the money out of the states, centralizing it into these horrible one-size-fits-all programs for everything, whether it be food or education itself, and let these be localized issues. I mean, let counties and county governments and state governments put their own time in, source your lunches from local farms. I mean, this is the whole point here. But here's the whole thing, Joel, and I'm sure that you've picked it up over the time that we've known each other and been friends. When they seize control over something that they have no authority for, and they create a program that should have never been done in the first place, then it creates a political hot potato for the next person to come in, and they dare you to end the program because then you're the one who's taking away lunches from kids, you know, and it's shit.
They really try to bastardize particular individuals who are trying to make changes, and especially when it comes to just like, you want to take care of the kids. What's so wrong with that? We're trying to feed our kids the proper things, and then you're 100% right, brother. Absolutely.
That's it. Well, listen, I hope is that all you want to say? It's because I haven't heard from you in a while, so.
Well, I had we had talked about education, but tonight's conversation, excuse me, wasn't about education, but the fact that you look at these paltry lunches, as you said. I see these kids' lunches every day, and I'm just like, man, that's a damn shame. But I can't say this because some of these kids don't even eat on the regular.
Yeah.
And, you know, some of them, the only place where they get a meal is school. So it's like, all right, are we going to take that away? Like, some of us are stuck between a rock and another rock. And then other people are just like, you know, taking advantage of that fact that what's happening. And then that's okay. We can give these kids these meals and that'll be okay. But some people don't even realize what their kids are getting in these schools. And it's really terrible. And, you know, people don't actually see that on ground level on whether it's good or not for their kids in so many ways.
I guess we could agree. And thank you for the call, my friend. It's good to hear from you.
Anytime, brother.
It's I guess we all could agree that the worst possible thing would be RFK becoming a food tyrant. We wouldn't want that. Now, that is outside of all of the criticism that we had of, say, Michael Bloomberg banning adults from going out there and buying sugary drinks that were larger than 10 ounces or something, where everybody was going out and buying too small sugary drinks because it was against the law to have like a supersized drink. Listen, I don't think that it's good for anybody to go out there and slug a half gallon of sweet tea. But if you're an adult, you know it's not the best thing for you, but gosh darn it, you want it. You're an adult. Go ahead. But forcing children here, I had to go find some stuff. This is from 2015. This is from 2015, the Daily Mail. Moldy salami, a tiny portion of salad, and a green hot dog. More students post photos of Michelle Obama's pathetic school lunches as experts call for action. Let's see here. Where the hell is it? Why aren't we moving here? Oh, there we go. Hey, that looks nice. Had a yummy. This is from hashtag Black Lives Matter too. My Nisha. So, like I said, this is not political at all. It's just, I had a yummy lunch today, guys. Salami and mold. Thanks, Michelle Obama. Salami inside of what? A flatbread pita? What the hell is that even about? This is the salad I got today. There's that looks great with shredded cheese. The mold there. So mold was a big thing in 2015. Maybe the mold's all gone now. But there's the tray, a hot dog, and something. There's not what sides? Ugh, never mind. It was touted as spicy chicken wrap. Well, I guess it sorta is. There is a, what the hell is that? Maybe a chicken nugget that is put inside of a wrap. What the hell is that? This was our yummy school lunch today. Pathetic. This was all from kids. You know, for a time, this was trending over the course of a year. Now, I don't know how much it's gotten better. What is this? 2 thin wraps filled with meat, pictured with a small side portion of carrots. Can you imagine having this put in front of you in school? I mean, I don't even know. What is this? Garbanzo? The hell is this? Another letdown. What is this? It's like beans and an apple. Ugh. My God, can you imagine the farts? And that was always the worst part. You get together in the lunchroom. Whatever your first period was after lunch, everybody's just farting up a storm because of the popcorn chicken and the seasoned fries, the seasoned curlies.
The seasoned curlies.
What the hell is this? Thanks, Michelle Obama, and my roll is cold. Is that meatloaf? Sliced peaches? I don't even know. But damn that RFK for wanting to be some kind of a tyrant here. Ridiculous. Well, okay, listen to this. Because it's 8:47, I do not want to, I don't want to leave this out. And we have people calling in right now. I'm going to hopefully get around to you in just a second. I might only have a second left. Opinion from the Washington Post. The hard truth, Americans don't trust the news media. By Jeff Bezos. Went out last night. In the annual public surveys about trust and reputation, journalists and the media have regularly fallen near the very bottom, often just above Congress. But in this year's Gallup poll, we have managed to fall below our Congress. Our profession is now the least trusted of all. Something we are doing is clearly not working. Now, this is Jeff Bezos saying we. Now, I guess he can call himself the media because he owns the Washington Post, but he did not. Did he start off as media? Or is he just assuming this as part of his identity now? Because even if I wrote for like a, editorial section of a paper, I'm not a journalist. So maybe this is something about his background. I don't know. I don't think so. Let me give an analogy, Jeff says. Voting machines must meet 2 requirements. They must count the vote accurately, and people must believe they count the vote accurately. The second requirement is distinct from and just as important as the first. Likewise, with newspapers, we must be accurate, and we must believe to be accurate. It is a bitter pill to swallow, but we are failing on the second requirement. Most people believe the media is biased. Anyone who doesn't see this is paying scant attention to reality, and those who fight reality lose. Reality is an undefeated champion. It would be easy to blame others for our long and continuing fall in credibility, and therefore decline in impact. But a victim mentality will not help. Complaining is not a strategy. We must work harder to control what we can control to increase our credibility. So that's the whole thing. The news media is geared up. It has been repurposed to make impacts. Now, I know he's trying to get away from, being accusatory of the operation he now owns, but I'm sure he understands that, which is why I heard that he's trying to hire so-called conservative writers and all that stuff to come to Washington Post to try to get away from one thing or another. Presidential endorsements do nothing to tip the scales in an election. No undecided voters in Pennsylvania are going to say, I'm going with newspaper A's endorsement. None. What presidential endorsements actually do is create perception of bias, a perception of non-independence. Ending them is a principled decision. Hey, listen, you say, are they right? Can he be trusted? But writing that is a correct assessment, no doubt. A perception of non-independence. Ending them is a principled decision, and it's the right one. Eugene Meyer, publisher of the Washington Post from 1933 to 46, thought the same, and he was right. By itself, declining to endorse presidential candidates is not enough to move us very far up the trust scale, but it's a meaningful step in the right direction. I wish we had made the change earlier than we did, in a moment further from the election and the emotions around it. That was inadequate planning and not some intentional strategy. I would also like to be clear that no quid pro quo of any kind is at work here. Neither campaign nor candidate was consulted or informed at any level or in any way about this decision. It was made entirely internally. Dave Limp, the chief executive of one of my companies, Blue Origin, met me with former President Donald Trump on the day of our announcement. I sighed when I found out because I knew it would provide ammunition for those who would like me to frame this as anything other than a principled decision. But the fact is, I didn't know about the meeting beforehand. Even Limp didn't know about it in advance. The meeting was scheduled quickly that morning. There is no connection between it and our decision on presidential endorsements, and any suggestion otherwise is false. And he goes on to talk about how, he's not pushing personal interest and all that stuff. And that's it. Many of the finest journalists you'll find anywhere work here at the Washington Post, and they work painstakingly every day to get to the truth. They deserve to be believed. No, they don't. They don't deserve to be believed. They don't. But that is a statement right there that has made, you should see, we put it on the Telegram. You should see there's 24,000 comments now. And they are out of control. People are out of their minds. I think they've already lost like 200,000 subscriptions have been canceled or something like that. What's that? They said about 8% of what they control overall. Is it over 1 million subscriptions? 1.5 million subscriptions? I don't know. But they lost 200,000. Now, my question is this. How many liberals do you think went and canceled their subscription to the Washington Post only to later that day go to Whole Foods and spend 3 years worth of newspaper subscriptions in one checkout? Okay? How much are you spending a year on the Washington Post? Is it over $300? Is it over $300? Because I don't know anybody who goes to Whole Foods and spends anything less than $250 if you have a meaningful grocery list that you have to go out and grab. Okay? So I wonder how many people canceled their subscription to give Jeff Bezos the finger and then went out a couple of hours later to pick up some milk at at Whole Foods, which pretty much makes up for everything. It's just incredible. Good job. Good stuff all around. And not only that, but just Amazon. I saw, Stephen King said, I've canceled my subscription to the Washington Post. Fuck you, Jeff Bezos, or something like that. And I don't know how many people asked him, Mr. King, have you removed your books from Amazon? And of course he refused to He'd never answered anybody because it's so ridiculous. So ridiculous. Now, the real thing here is that if Jeff Bezos actually is serious about bringing in different people to work at the Washington Post, and they make some sort of a true and honest shift toward balance, where every once in a while I'll check out a Washington Post article that's being, shared around. I'll say, hey, I'll give them credit for this one. Like every once in a while, Politico hits it out of the park. Every once in a while, they'll hit it out of the park. And you just give credit where credit's due. You take it article by article. But, it's a smart business move to distance yourself from this really cunty cult. It's a good, you have to go read it for yourself. I think that we posted it on the, where the hell is it? Quite frankly, where are the comments sections here? Is this it? I think we have the link to the comments on the Quite Frankly Telegram. But they're insane. Absolutely insane. So that's what I have for you on that. Now, before we go any further, I want just to check our super chats and we'll be on our way. Starting immediately after this show ends on quitefrankly.tv. So all you who are out there who are just, chilling out, we have more for you after the show at quitefrankly.tv. If you're already there, just stay there. Project it onto your screen. Walk around the house with it in your pocket. Listen to it. Here's what we have in the after hours tonight. All put together by John Carroll. Chrissy Mayer, is Kamala Harris losing the podcast game versus Trump? I guess the easy question is yes. Well, she can't play the game. That's the trick question. You always lose a game that you can't play and to get go. Jason Burmis, from transgender to transhuman and beyond. The Corbett Report, Fang goes nuclear. The History Guy, Best of Halloween. Vintage Halloween commercials from the 70s to the 90s. Oh, I love that. I sent that along to John, to Mike. I said, you got to put some of these vintage Halloween commercials in there. I love them. Used to skip commercials, hate commercials back in the day. And now I go to find blocks of nothing but commercials because I just want to feel like it's the 90s for a couple of seconds. And then finally, to end the night, Art Bell with Jim Elvidge, Digital Simulated Reality. That's a good one, if I remember correctly. So thank you, Ronan Dosho, for the super chat. Let me go and make sure that I did not miss any. Oh, we have a few here on Rumble. Let's get to those. Jay Simo says, great show. She is excellent, talking about Grace, of course. Rudes Rock says, is now a monthly supporter. Well, thank you so much. Now, Rudes Rock, I just got to say, if you're a monthly supporter on Rumble, that is fantastic, and thank you so much. And if that is just easy for you, then terrific. But if you want to, Rumble does not allow us to take any kind of contact information or be able to keep track of our sponsors there. Or I would tell people you can be a sponsor through Rumble as well, and we can just track you so that we can give you links to all of the extra content and stuff. So until Rumble expands what they do with subscriptions over there, there's nothing really I can do as far as all the universal perks that people on Patreon, Subscribestar, or directly through quitefrankly.tv or Pilled are able to get. So if you ever wanted to be part of all the exclusive content afterwards as an actual sponsor that I can recognize until Rumble gets with it and expands that part of their operation, then please go to the Sponsor Us section on quitefrankly.tv and you'll see all of your options there. Quite frankly, Patreon, Subscribestar, and then directly through the website is an option as well. So thank you, and I just wanted to let you know because I don't want anybody left out in the cold. All right, and that is it, I believe. Let's go over to quitefrankly.tv, which is trying to get these gold pills up, but they're not. No, here we go. All right, Stephen and Lori, you ever see the Gargoyle movie from the 1970s? Not the cartoon. That would be a good movie for after hours. Well, send it over to email me about it. I don't know about it. I'll go check it out, though. Robert Sarnes, thank you. Sean Joe, Porpoiseful, Sean Joe gifted a 3-month bronze tier subscription. You see what I'm talking about? And who claimed it? Porpoiseful. For 3 months, they're sponsors. That's the good thing about QuiteFrankly.tv and the Pilled chat room, is that there are always subscriptions just being gifted to people, and those are legit. So thank you guys and gals for being so generous with each other. It's given people a lot of insight into how much special attention I pay to sponsors, and it's a good thing. Delona says, I got a message here in Maryland that someone in my residence hasn't voted yet, and I don't like that. I wonder what that's about. Thank you, Porpoiseful. Safety Net 820, thank you. Claimed a bronze tier subscription gifted by Sean Joe. See, people are becoming sponsors right now, and it doesn't cost you anything when people are just being generous like that. Delona, Tomcat NG, Stow Stew with a whole sleeve of cookies, and that's all I have for tonight. Thank you so much. It's 9 o'clock on the nose. I'm going to go home, and tomorrow I'll let you know. Actually, tonight I'll let you know whether we're going to have a midday show or a 7 o'clock show. And I don't know what I want. I want the Yankees to fight. I want the miraculous to happen. I want history to be made. I want to have one good childhood fling before the election comes to call all of our attention back to what we have to do for the rest of the year. So, have a good night. Thanks for all of your help and all of your good company, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Good night.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Tom, some weight loss.
AIDS? Nobody's got AIDS. I don't want to hear that word here again.